Hi, my name is Chad Heinen, and this is my final career interest presentation. I am going to examine the issue of fraud and misuse of funds in nonprofit charities and explain how my career interest, forensic accounting, can be used to uncover these activities. Before we get into the topic of fraudulent charities, let's go over some basic information about forensic accounting. The average salary for a forensic accountant is $63,000. An entry-level salary is generally around $40,000. According to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, a bachelor's degree in accounting is required and CPA certification is recommended. A forensic accountant is an individual who conducts investigations into financial matters that involve litigation. The word forensic means suitable for use in court, and it is to this standard that forensic accountants are held. Now, let's move into the next phase of this presentation. I will show that fraud is a widespread problem in nonprofit charities, how and why that fraud is perpetrated, and finally, I will demonstrate how forensic accounting can be used to combat it. So is fraud in charities really a problem? Well, Professor Keating of Boston College performed a study on nonprofits in New York and found that at least 74% of them incorrectly reported telemarketing expenses. This misreporting is extremely important, as the program-to-expense ratio is how charities are typically measured and rated. By failing to correctly report this expense, honest charities can look inferior to dishonest ones. To put this in perspective, the Vietnam veteran charity VietNow was recently dissolved because over 80% of its revenue went towards telemarketer expenses, with most of the rest going to administrative overhead. The charity collected over $15 million in the past decade, and only a tiny fraction of that went to veterans. Imagine if you donated to this organization. Would you be outraged to find out that only a few cents of every dollar actually went to the vets? A study published in the Accounting Review examined why a large number of charities inexplicably reported zero fundraising expenses. This study linked the misreporting to managerial incentives. Essentially, when not reporting expenses can lead to big bonuses, the incidence of fraud becomes widespread. Former U.S. Representative Corrine Brown received 18 felony convictions for using her charity as a personal slush fund. The educational charity received $800,000 in donations, but less than $1,200 of that actually went to scholarships. The rest funded vacations and shopping sprees for the representative and her staff. To show exactly the depths that charity fraud can sink to, I need to introduce you to this man, James Reynolds Sr.
It makes you sick to your stomach.
On an all-new American Greed, two corrupt cases keep it all in the family. First, like father, like son.
We were all in shock.
Living the life on a fundraising scam that snares $187 million.
James Reynolds Sr. raised $187 million through 4 separate cancer charities. The Federal Trade Commission investigated these charities and found that a staggering 97% of donations were used by his family and friends for personal use, such as providing six-figure salaries or just using the funds on sports cars and cruises. In all the cases I've mentioned, the investigation was aided by forensic accountants. These individuals did the boring but necessary work, such as comparing Form 990s to state records or studying expense reports for inappropriate use, that allowed law enforcement to shut these fraudulent charities down. It has been shown that when outside accountants are introduced, the incidence of fraud through misreporting of expenses drops to almost nothing. This means that simple accounting oversight can prevent the majority of charity fraud. This concludes our brief overview of forensic accounting and how it can prevent or uncover fraud in charitable organizations. If you have any questions, please direct them to this week's forum thread, where I will attempt to answer any questions on this subject. Thank you and have a great week.